And here's the interesting thing to me. I've noticed this personally is where is the left when it comes to the Ainu? You know, if your colonizers have
Seriously.
brown skin, it seems like suddenly empathy does not extend to you. They just got the
Yeah.
right to speak their own language and use their own names a couple decades ago. They're still fighting for the right to fish on their own land. Meanwhile, they're doing this and that for indigenous people in Canada and America. We're on stolen land, this and that. What about the Ainu? Where are you for that? They have the Ainu are like basically they're pointing to the rights of indigenous people by the UN and telling the Japanese government that they violated that, and nothing's come out of it yet. Nothing, because the left doesn't care about that. They don't care about indigenous people. They just hate the West.
They do. They're completely centered on the West due to just communism in general. It's the fight that they lost and they want to reclaim victory. Not only that, but American education doesn't really focus too much on indigenous populations in the old world. They
Right.
focus populations on the conceptualized new world, which is in the Americas.
Right.
They don't really talk about or care put too much of a microscope on other indigenous people, and when they do it into colleges, and unfortunately there isn't much pushback on leftist ideology there. And when you do, you can actually have meaningful discussions, but the
Hmm.
colleges are so overtaken by socialist ideology they don't even recognize it in themselves, and that's
Yeah,
terrifying.
it is. I think that a Campus Saints really hammered that home. Feral Historian had a very good take on a Campus Saints, which is that it is a series of caricatures. Um, yes, it's exaggerated. That's the point. Like the way that the Indians are portrayed, for example, is a little bit exaggerated. That is the point.
Yeah.
Likewise, though, with the actual villains of the story, the Indians are the useful idiots. They're the means. The actual people perpetrating it, um, they are the ones actually, like Clemendio, for example, and the many other people, the many other radical leftists, which may have been a caricature for Jean Paul Sartre, which was an interesting thread there. That just hate the West and they hate themselves and they just want to destroy the West, much like the leftists at the very beginning of the story talking to the professor. They just. It's Nietzschean will to equality. It's a hatred of greatness, and they just want to tear it down because it's great, essentially. The real villains of the story are the ones that hate themselves, that want to destroy what their ancestors have created for no other reason than they feel bad for being more successful than other people.
Which is, yeah, it comes from that guilt,
Yeah,
social guilt response that our society understands and fully understands and tries to make amends for that guilt, and now and other societies don't feel the same way.
right. No one
uh,
else is doing this.
no one
You
else
don't
doing
see the Chinese mass importing Indians because they're so great. You don't